The cake is a lie. Father's Day was weird for Yuri Sakazaki. For her brother Rio too, but maybe slightly more for her. She wasn't sure because she didn't live in Rio's mind and didn't know what he really thought. Yeah, there had been plenty of heart-to-hearts over the years, but that didn't mean anything, did it? Things changed. Things always changed. But also somehow managed to stay the same, didn't they? She and Rio would always be brother and sister, no matter how much of a huge butthead he was either to her or their friends, and Takuma Sakazaki would always be their father, even though he abandoned them so long ago. Just up and left without a single goodbye. Couldn't even be bothered to drop them off on someone's doorstep. If it hadn't been for Rio's hard work and the efforts of the Garcia family, well, Yuri didn't like to think of how things might have turned out. With a slight frown, a young woman stared at her project, which was taking up the entire kitchen island and creating a huge mess. She had decided, just as she did every year since Takuma came back to her and Rio, that it would be nice to do something, well, nice for Father's Day. Takuma had been working hard lately despite his health, which seemed to be on the decline. Not in a serious way, of course, but in an age is catching up with him and he probably shouldn't be working long hours sort of way. But this year, it was different. Yuri didn't know why, but she found herself thinking about her friends and their fathers. Mai and Ceci had both lost theirs while they were still growing up, but had other relatives to look after them. But Yuri and Rio were a special case. Their dad was very much alive. He had just left them high and dry to go on some bullcrap crusade while they were children, that's all. And then he came back. And it was a little awkward at first, but the three, Yuri, Rio, and Takuma, managed to build some resemblance of a normal family dynamic. It took a lot of work, as there were plenty of feelings involved, but against all odds, they did it. At least, that's how it appeared on the outside. Maybe. In the grand scheme of things, Yuri didn't truly know what a normal family dynamic was, now that she thought about it. Sure, she and Rio weren't orphans, but did that count for anything? Yeah, Takuma Sakazaki had been back in their lives for years now, but... Yuri stared down at the chaos in front of her, placed her hands on her hips, and then glanced out the window at nothing in particular before looking at her creation once again. A rich, homemade chocolate cake that she had woken up early to make. It had finished baking and was appropriately cooled and decorated. She just needed to ride on it and then wait for her efforts to go unnoticed for many hours, just like every year. Crap, Yuri muttered under her breath, wondering why she was harboring so many negative feelings all of a sudden. After all, it was Father's Day, a happy day for anyone who still had a father. Sure, she hadn't had hers for a long time, but he came back, you know. Mai and Ceci and Athena and even Mary couldn't say that. So surely she should have been happy, right? But the more she thought about it, the more unhappy it made her. And she had thought about it a lot over the years. Yuri let out a low growl as she picked up on the piping bag from the counter and started writing on the chocolate surface, the bright, loopy script heavily contrasting with the dark icing and the even darker feelings that she was experiencing. She formed each letter with great care, determined not to let her own hang-ups ruin the day, but extremely conscious of the fact that, regardless of how nice it was to be able to say that her father was alive and loved her, it would have been nicer to openly acknowledge that Takuma Sakazaki did not deserve a darn cake.